right, so our first question, with the Republican Party of Texas, the RPT, under the leadership of a chairman, Allen West, right? Talk to us about what success would look like from your perspective and what measures you would use to identify or gauge success.
Well, the measures of effectiveness, first and foremost, when you look at what just happened in this last primary election, Collin County was outvoted 15,000 by the Democrats. When you look down at Dallas County, where I live, we only had a 5 or 6% turnout. I was down in Lago Vista and Travis County, Williamson County. They only had a 5.1% turnout. We have got to inspire our side to come out and get them to understand how important it is. And the judge spoke about this earlier. We have got to educate our voters to go completely down through the ballot. We need to have ballot slates that are out there, because what the progressive socialist left does when they move into successful, positive, strong, conservative states, they go for the lowest level first. They go for the local level first. They go for school board, they go for city council, and then they take over your judgeships, because as they said, they understand that the 3 branches of rule, not really 3 branches of government, the 3 branches of rule are academia, media, and judgeships. Yep. And that's why we lost 56 judgeships in 2018. So we've got to protect those judgeships. And I think the other thing that's most important is we have to go where they think they're the strongest. When you look at the greatest amount of failure of the left's policies, where do you find them? In the major urban centers. You see them in especially the minority communities and minority neighborhoods. Blacks and Hispanics are conservative in nature. Yes, we have got to consistently engage with them to get them to understand that, not just ramp up and show up for election cycles.
So actually, I've got some things to talk about that, but the first thing I want to say, especially on the night when we're recognizing and honoring precinct chairs, would everybody who's a precinct chair, would you please raise your hand? Thank you, and God bless you. The shortest answer for success in the RPT is many thousands more people who raise their hand. I will tell you, my life was changed by my precinct chair. I showed up to vote at 6:45 on election day in 2008 when, in the primary, if y'all don't remember, our choice by that time was McCain or McCain, all right? And I was so frustrated, and the precinct chair said, "Hey, would you stick around for 15 more minutes? We're going to do a precinct convention right after the vote. How about stick around and do that?" And I had no idea, but he was a nice guy, so I was like, "Yeah, sure, okay, I'll hang around." And I went to the precinct convention, and then there were 4 of us there, including the Denton County tax assessor collector and my precinct chair, and we all voted ourselves in delegates to the Senate district convention. And 2 Saturdays later, I found myself a delegate to the Senate district convention, and they were talking about how amazing the state convention was. And so I applied to be a delegate to the state convention. Well, nobody had ever met me, but I had a nice interview with the nominations committee, and so they let me go as an alternate. So the convention, which ironically was in Houston that year, it was the last time I was in Houston, I took my kids with me. I went down to the convention in 2008, and it was a presidential year, so there was an election for national nominations, or national delegates, and so I ran to be a national delegate. Nobody knew me, and I got stomped. And my kids were with me, and they said, "Dad, you always tell us to keep trying and do more and be involved." And so I ran again to be an alternate delegate, and then that year I was an alternate delegate to the national convention and learned so much about how bottoms up our party is and how impactful any one of us can be if we get involved. And it doesn't take a title, it doesn't take celebrity, it doesn't take money, it just takes willingness to work. And every one of you who serve as a precinct chair, you should know that night, that precinct chair changed the rest of my life. I wouldn't be sitting in this seat right now if I had not seen what the impact of the Republican Party of Texas is and one person in the Republican Party of Texas could be. And going on to serve as precinct chair, as county chair, now as state chair, now at the state level, there are a whole bunch of things that measure success. There are some people who are actually saying the primary turnout measures success. There are 2 things in that same 2008 election. People have short memories, but those of us who were around here then, that was the last big contest on the Democrat side. Hillary versus Obama, right? Now they've got Biden versus Bernie, right? But then they had Hillary versus Obama. Well, they had 2.8 million Democrat voters turn out in the primary in 2008. Conversely, we had 1.3 million people turn out in our primary. Yet, McCain won by a mile. We had a good year. But here's the important thing. We've had 20% increase in registered voters since the 2008 election, and yet in this last primary, their total turnout, even with a giant fight, big fight right at the top of their ballot, their turnout was 700,000 fewer voters than 12 years ago, but on our side we had 700,000 more voters than 12 years ago, even though we had no fight at all. President Trump, God bless him, won 94% of the Republican Party primary, as he should. Right? And Senator Cornyn won 74%. So we didn't have a fight at the top of our ballot. We had people who were energized and organized. So the back to the question of what will, as we look at the next 2 years, what would be success? And as I look at the last 2 years, what is success? We've had a significant increase in transparency, significant improvement in operations, massive increases in success of working together. We already have millions of dollars in the bank to hire field staff for this year. Now, I've heard people actually criticize that we have money in the bank that's dedicated to purposes like turning out voters in November. Personally, I think that's part of the point of the party, is to have people dedicated to turn out voters in November. But the other thing we did, success in the party is, are we having more of an impact and are we getting better results overall? And we are having more of an impact. We had more of an impact in the legislature. It was nowhere near what I wanted to be, but we made significant gains, and better yet, we laid the groundwork for a serious victory going forward. And any conservative knows that the Texas legislature was set up on purpose to make it hard to change things, which thank God it was, because 112 years when the Democrats were in charge of Texas, think how much they would have screwed it up if our Constitution wasn't set that way, right? So, but significant gains in the legislature, significant gains in operations, significant gains in funds. Last year, we raised $3.3 million. And again, some people are like, well, but you promised some donors that would be done for voter registration. Yes, because we want to register voters. In fact, that's a new initiative we have, 10K for 10R. How many of you have already signed up for 10K for 10R? Good. We need the rest of you to sign up for this. It's the easiest volunteer program you've ever seen. If you sign up, we will mail you the names and phone numbers of 10 people as close to you as we can get, who we're 90% sure are hardcore Republicans, and we're 90% sure are not yet registered to vote in Texas. And through that program, we have already signed up 3,300 volunteers, and we have already registered and confirmed with the Secretary of State new registrations of 70,000 Republicans. Those people are going to turn out in November. And thanks to those volunteers, we're going to make sure they turn out in November. And thanks to the money we raised, we're going to have the field staff to help support those volunteers and to help make sure we have victory. So this year, it won't be victory if we don't deliver President Trump the White House. We are going to do that in Texas. We're going to deliver President Trump the White House. We're going to win at Senate. We're going to win every statewide elected office for the 13th election in a row. We are going to retain the Texas House. We're going to win back some extra Texas House seats. And we are going to continue to grow our efforts in city council and school boards and all the way down the ballot. Thank God for all of you who are running for city council and school boards. God bless you.